American cars and trucks of the early 1950s were ugly. There you go. Said it. I'm sure I'm going to get some hate for that. I will say that I love my 1953 Ford F-100 pickup truck, and I wouldn't give it up for anything in the world. However, there are a couple of things about it that I think could benefit from some improvement. These are not improvements over its original manufacture. What I'm more interested in doing is trying to get it back to an appearance that looks more like it did when it was new. My particular truck has been in my family since the late 1970s. When my uncle first got it, it was in reasonable shape, but missing a few parts. He spent a bit of time getting the engine into better condition and painted it black all over, and by 1982 it looked pretty good. In 2005, he was done with it, and I took it on as a regular driver. By then, the once glossy black paint was a little weathered and faded, but I didn't care. It ran and did what I needed it to do, though there was always this nagging thought in my mind that it could look better. Fast forward to today when I have a little bit of time and money, and I figured I might go ahead and address some of the changes. The tires and full moon hubcaps have never really done it for me. Sure, they cover the rims pretty well, but I wanted to get a more original look. I tried slapping on a set of original hubcaps on years ago to find out that these are post-1957 rims, which attach to the hubcap differently than they did in 1953. Oh well, I guess that means new rims. Heck, if I'm going to have to throw out for new rims, I have to get new tires as well. Without power steering, slow speed turns are like an arm wrestling a power lifter. It's a real workout. The original tires, though really odd looking on a modern car or truck, were considerably narrower to help making turning more compliant at all speeds. The running boards, though functional, have given the truck a bit more of a farm look than I wanted. Worse, since they are a bit undersized relative to the originals, I have repeatedly taken chunks out of my legs when I accidentally kicked the corners. Since original steel ones are typically nothing more than a few loose bits of rust held together with some paint, I'll be getting aftermarket replacements. Those have their own set of problems which we will be getting into later. The rear bumper, if you want to call it that, is merely a piece of angle iron with a trailer hitch welded on, bolted directly to the frame. It might provide a little protection, but like the running boards, they have been a great source of bruises. An aftermarket bumper and brackets are relatively inexpensive and easy to attach. The grille came from the factory in a color called Sungate Ivory. The original color was painted over black when the rest of the truck was painted. Since I'm not trying to hide this truck in the shadows, I would like to return it to its original color, which you saw in one of the earlier pictures. Last is the paint. I had entertained the idea of repainting the whole truck in another color. The black paint is scratched, touched up, and basically weather worn all over. However, paint is expensive, and this is not a 1950s Porsche. Instead of going crazy and spending more money than the truck is worth, I'm going to do the next best thing and see if I can polish it up by hand and at least get some shine back. The 1980s paint job is a single stage, which means there's no clear coat to worry about. All I have to do is avoid burning through the paint down to primer. How hard could that be? When dealing with replacement steel components on old cars, be prepared for fitment issues. The factory dies used to stamp these parts are pretty old and tired at this point. In addition, the steel used is often thinner than the original, which makes something like a running board a bit bendy. As a result, be prepared for a bit of fabrication work. We had to do a bit of metal work and reinforcement to get the running boards to fit well and not flex when you stood on them. As for color, I decided to go the route of powder coating. I've not done this before on a car, but I was convinced that it had the potential to provide a better chip resistance than paint. This does create its own set of problems. Unlike paint that can be mixed from a known set of pigments to match the original, powder coating does limit the color choices. With a bit of digging, I was able to find a relatively close match to the original. Anyone looking at the color would likely never notice the difference. Well, here it is. The paint polished up reasonably well, and the overall effect matched what I was looking for. Hopefully you think the same. There are still a few mechanical items that need to be ironed out in future videos, but for now, thanks for watching. If you're interested in seeing more, please like and subscribe. I would really appreciate it. Thanks.